started. Hello, everyone. As you all know that we have a guest speaker today. Her name is Bonnie, and Wally, I'll actually have you introduce her if you don't mind.
Oh, I'll be very happy to. Yeah, Vonnie Woodrick is a founder of I Understand. I believe they just celebrated 10 years of an anniversary since their founding. And I am not going to say too much about it about her, because I'm going to let her explain what she does and why she does it. But they are I think one of their main objectives is to helping to reduce the stigma that's attached to mental illness. And Vonnie, I will turn it over to you and welcome. And I'm very, very happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Wally. It really is an honor to be able to be here and share some of my work. I'm always very grateful when somebody sees value in wanting to share it with others. So I really appreciate that in you, Wally. Um, I know Wally because he joins our one of our support groups. And that's one of the things we do. I understand as a nonprofit that supports those that have lost a loved one to death by suicide or living with a mental brain health illness. We love to be out in the community. We have funded the first in the country nurse specializing in mental health in a traditional hospital setting at Helen DeVos. We also have a sensory room for children risk of harming themselves at that same hospital. We have a partnership with the Michigan Sheriff's Association, providing resources for those that have experienced a mental health crisis. And it goes on and on and on. But today I want to just tell you more about my personal journey, and it is my personal journey. That is the reason why I do what I do, because I felt so alone after I lost my husband, Rob, to depression 21 years ago. So I am very excited to talk to you today. And I know that excited isn't often a term used when we're talking about mental health and suicide. Um, but it's not an easy subject to talk about. And I'm excited because I am a witness to change. We are changing the conversation of mental health and suicide, bringing understanding to something that's so difficult to understand. And a passion of mine is bringing the conversation to everyday places like this one to help normalize, to reduce the stigma and judgment that's attached. Because I had many, many uncomfortable moments that turned to years because I didn't want to open up and share or even tell the truth. I didn't want to talk about something that I didn't understand, something that changed the course of my life and the dreams that I had. On the outside, things looked perfect, but on the inside, there were struggles. The struggles were caused by anxiety, and I didn't know the effects of anxiety and how anxiety could lead to deep-seated depression. And I didn't know depression could kill. So I'm grateful to bring this much needed conversation to the forefront to change the views and narratives surrounding suicide and mental brain health illnesses. My hope today is that you leave with a better understanding through my lived experience on a topic that's often judged and misunderstood. And I have experienced those feelings of judgment and stigma associated with mental brain health illnesses and suicide for over 2 decades now. And the pain, the insecurities, and the hidden truths which caused so much inner suffering to anyone who is living in continuous pain or has experienced the devastating loss to someone to suicide. We have lost over 1 million of our friends, family members, and coworkers since my husband's death. Yet we continue to act surprised when it happens. So this brings me to one of many questions. Why do we judge mental brain health illnesses, yet grieve suicide? Because I thought suicide was something a crazy person did, but my husband wasn't crazy. He was kind, loving, gentle, and fun. He made me laugh. He made our kids laugh. Yet he lived with anxiety that could turn into debilitating depression. And I didn't know depression could kill. And I didn't know because we don't talk about it like that. My husband didn't choose depression, nor did the 3 generations before him. Yet the effect of depression is considered a choice. Do people living with other illnesses choose their illness? Do they choose to die when their organs, blood, or bones fail them? Another question. Is it not possible for our brains to fail? Are our brains perfect, illness free? Why is the brain the only organ in our body that is judged when it fails or becomes weak? And why do we talk more about the act rather than we do the illness that our loved one lived with? I am still in search for those answers. And I found myself to be very, very alone after my loss because most didn't understand and offered advice given, not experiencing the type of devastation that I did. Many would say to me, just get through that first year. The first year is always the hardest. Well, I plowed my way through that first year anticipating a grief-free pot of gold at that end of the rainbow, but it wasn't there. The pot of gold was empty, an empty feeling that lingered throughout my journey, not just through the first, the second, or the third, but now 21. That anticipation of something magical happening once I got through the first year made the second more difficult than the first. I didn't want to talk about how my husband died because he was so much more than his illness. Yet so many were focused on his death, which was an unknown, scary, and dark place for me. So I told others he died in a more acceptable way, like a car accident, cancer, or even a heart attack. But when I finally understood the truth of his death, I was able to finally tell the truth. And the truth is, my husband died from depression. Depression is an illness. Many will say he committed, completed, or even killed himself. And those comments would make me cringe and my stomach sink to the depth. Because did you know, up until 1964, suicide was considered a crime? That's where the word commit comes in. Do we commit the effect that other illnesses have? The most commonly asked question after a death by suicide is, how did he do it? Really? I just experienced the most devastating, difficult, and painful loss, and you're asking me, how? Do you know that that brings me back to the moment that every time I close my eyes, it's a vision? The moment that doesn't allow me to open a closed white door even 21 years later? The moment my life changed? The moment my dreams were shattered? All of those questions forced me to self-proclaimed turtle syndrome. I would head out to the reality of having to go to the grocery store or pick the kids up from school, and I would get a look as people didn't know what to say to someone whose husband just killed themselves. Because I heard those whispers and I saw the looks, and that was hard. I would force myself back into that turtle shell, and I would slowly peek out and venture out. I would pray that I would not run into someone I knew, as the questions, the whispers, and the pointing were too much for my broken heart to handle. I was tired of feeling alone in a crowded room. I was hurt by people that were defining my husband for how he died rather than how he lived. My kids needed peace. I needed peace. The love for my children allowed me to see something that many have a difficult seeing after this type of loss. It is not time that heals, because people will say, give it time. Time just goes away. It is love that heals, and love that can stay a long time. And it's love from unexpected places, even a simple smile, a hug, somebody opening the door for you. So we created the nonprofit organization, I Understand, Love Heals, because we understood something that many won't ever deal with, admit to, or even seek help for, and that's mental illness. Learning as much as I could, supporting my children after 4 generations of suicide loss, I had more questions. Why isn't the genetic component talked about? Why do we cover it up, hide, and sweep mental illness under the rug? Why don't we say brain illness? Isn't it our brain that is not functioning properly? The CDC states that over 54% of those who die by suicide do not have a diagnosed mental health illness. 54%. And 90% of those who die are living with depression. So that doesn't make sense. This means that more than half of those who die by suicide are experiencing some form of pain that is leading them to depression. Pain is something we all live with at some point in our lives. Wouldn't that make us all at risk if pain can bring on undiagnosed depression and suicidal thoughts and actions? We've all experienced it. Maybe it was bullying, heartache, divorce, financial devastation, grief, physical pain, isolation, and even the flu can be triggers for suicidal ideation. Pain is a red flag. Pain is something we don't talk about enough. We focus too much on the mental illness. My counselor once told me that one red flag is too many. Did I ignore the red flags, or didn't I know what they were? So I'm asking each one of you, if you have family or friends that are living in pain, please reach out. Ask if they are okay. You could change or perhaps even save a life. Because it's important that we know how to be the one for someone, and sometimes that someone is ourselves. So passionate about our Be the One training program on how we can learn to be the one for someone else. And I know at times it's really hard to be the one for someone because maybe we're in denial of what's really going on. Maybe the illness, the pain, or addiction is swept under the rug. But let's be reminded that illnesses are treatable. Depression is an illness. It's treatable. It's preventable. Just like every other illness that our body faces is just like depression. It's treatable and it's preventable. Yet, every other illness in our body can also be terminal. Why can't our brain suffer from a terminal illness when a death by suicide is considered a choice? My husband had an illness, and I didn't know that depression had this deadly effect. But once I did, I was able to take some of the guilt away from a suicide loss because I knew he didn't choose his illness. How could he choose his death? Didn't he just want his pain to end? Please remember that pain is the common denominator of all suicides. By knowing that, I really believe that we can reduce that stigma and judgment and look at pain and the effect that pain can have. Another important thing to remember is we all have 3 sides to us. So what if we knew about all 3 sides? The first side is your public side, like the side that you're seeing me right now, that I'm human, that I make mistakes, and it's okay. The side that I'm at home, who are we at home? Maybe we're a little different than we are from side 1, our public side. And then the third side is the behind closed door side. When I'm all alone, all of my thoughts are to myself. Side 1 and 2 saw this outgoing, happy person. But in reality, my third side is sad, depressed, and I may be suicidal and I may even have a plan, but I go back out to my first side and my second side and I don't share and I don't open up. So if I don't share those really deep thoughts, how can I be helped? We only know what we know. And if our loved ones don't share their deep thoughts, how can we help them? It is imperative to talk and recognize these three sides to us. Getting our friends and family to open up, to share these deep inner thoughts can save lives. And maybe you need to do that too. Share your thoughts with someone that you can trust. It may save someone else's life or your own. I think for me, it was really important to recognize the gift that my loved one, my husband, left behind, because I really found it helped in my healing. It took me a while to find it, but my husband left me with a gift of passion. It certainly can't be touched or seen, but it can be felt. And it took me a while to feel it, but once I did, it ran deep. And it's a bittersweet place to be, knowing I had to lose Rob to find it. A passion to remove the stigma, to change the views and narratives surrounding the topic, freeing those who are struggling to seek help, removing guilt from those who have lost, and understanding that love never dies, it grows stronger. Talking and sharing your feelings is key to reducing stress, anxiety, and depression. Find your tribe, find your people. Often I hear after a loss, we saw nothing. There were no signs. They were happy. And the guilt sets in because they didn't see this coming. The truth is, there's always a sign. There's always something. But denial is a safe place to be because many don't want to tell the truth because they're embarrassed or ashamed, or perhaps they're enablers to the illness their loved one faced. Or if they admit the truth, they're shaming their loved one. Does guilt go deeper because they saw something yet didn't know what to do to help? Breaking down the barriers, getting to the truth, and understanding that mental brain health illnesses are real. Because when we hide the truth, we add to the stigma and prevent ourselves from healing or from getting the help that we may need. Comments such as, how could your husband do that? How did he do it? And you know your husband went to hell for killing himself. I live with those and still do today, 21 years later. Maybe some of you thought those same things, made those same comments, or even judged someone. I know I did. I'm sure I was like many others, that I thought those that killed themselves were crazy. And I had to learn the truth the hard way. Because when you go through such a tremendous loss, how do you ever comprehend living the rest of your life without them? Because all around you, everyone else's life seems perfect. Their life hasn't changed. Your friends can take moments out of their day to be with you. Yet they still get to go home to their same family, same routine, same life. I knew people meant well, and some of the comments made with good intentions would stun me and leave me without words. All why I was experiencing this sudden loss from my husband's illness that I didn't know at the time, that I didn't realize could be terminal. Some comments that made me very uncomfortable were things like, at least it's not a divorce. A divorce is so much harder. Or, I lost my mom this year. She was 85 and she died in her sleep. I know how you feel. And again, that most commonly asked question, how did he do it? That triggers my own PTSD. Ignorant people say ignorant things. And I began to realize that they haven't been through what I went through. They hadn't experienced this type of loss. So how could they possibly understand? I began to let those comments go, as I wouldn't wish a loss like mine upon anyone, just to understand. For me, people changed. Family that once came around stopped. Friends that were friends as couple were no longer close. Business relationships changed. Why? Why? Was it too hard? Did they blame me? The losses were significant all the way around. And being forced to live this new life with so many changes, so much loss, disappointment, and grief was not how I ever imagined my life to be. So during this time of loss, I lied many times and often. I didn't have it in me to tell people that my husband died by suicide. I was so confused and afraid that we would be judged. I told people, once again, he had cancer because I thought it was more acceptable, because people support people with cancer and people judge people that die by suicide. So I avoided people. That way I didn't have to worry about sharing something that I didn't understand and something that was so painful. And that is when my heart broke. I mean, it literally broke. Feeling as if an elephant was sitting on my chest, I Googled heart attack in women. And with any chest pain, you are advised to go to ER. So I did. I was immediately admitted to the hospital due to a heart attack. I was told I would head to surgery the next day. A stent would be put in to prevent blockage. I was put on an operating table, shown a cartoon version of a book that explained the procedure, and put to sleep anticipating waking up with a stent in a vessel. That didn't happen. My arteries were clean. There wasn't any blockage. I didn't need a stent, but that's when I was told I had broken heart syndrome, also known as cardiomyopathy. My heart was damaged from continuous and traumatic stress. The doctor said to me, I don't know what you have going on in your life, but you need to change it. It's hard to understand the impact that traumatic loss has, continuous worries about kids, and the potential effects that relationships have on you. This was a wake-up call. I began asking myself, why don't I respect myself enough to take care of me? I set forth to change my life. Today, I recognize the importance of me. And maybe for the first time in my life, I'm standing up for what I believe and making my own needs a priority. I am living proof that it's possible to pick up the pieces and heal a broken heart. When we protect our hearts by opening up and sharing our own feelings and thoughts, experiences, our journey, healing begins. I stopped lying about my husband's death and started speaking the truth. You mentioned the word suicide and people turn their heads and say things like, he was selfish. How could he do that to the kids? But it is because of that question asked so many times that I set out to change the definition of suicide. Because isn't it time we talk about the illness rather than the act? My husband died from depression. There's a different conversation to be had. If we answered the question, how did your husband die? With the answer of depression versus he committed, he completed, he took his own life. Because I believe suicide is a terminal effect of depression and mental brain health illnesses and pain. By answering with depression, just think about how we can talk about the illness. We can talk about depression, the signs and the symptoms, rather than the traumatic experience. I wouldn't have been able to get where I have gotten today without recognizing that gift of passion that was left behind, without recognizing the need for change and the acceptance of the journey that I have been put on. Acceptance has been a word that I knew I needed to understand from the very beginning of my new life. If I didn't accept, my husband wasn't coming back. If I didn't accept that my having it all was changing, and if I didn't accept that I was a widow to 3 young kids who are now fatherless, I could have been on a totally different path, an unhealthy path that could have led to self-medicating to ease the pain and the grief. The most heartbreaking moments of this 21-year journey of life after loss is watching my kids grow up without their dad. We had to accept that every occasion, birthdays, graduations, weddings, and Friday night pizza parties would be hard. And hard is an understatement. Through acceptance, we have been able to move forward, move to a place that allows us to focus on the time we had and appreciate the moments that we were able to share, not ever letting my husband, my kid's dad, be defined by how he died, because he was so much more than that. We will work hard through I Understand to continue to bring the conversation to everyday places to reduce stigma and judgment. I now have friends like Wally who are no longer alone in their struggles or their loss. These people are like family, a community that loves and accepts each other for who they are. And illness doesn't matter. A struggle doesn't matter. The color of their skin doesn't matter. The kind of car they drive doesn't matter. But what matters is I surround myself with people who share the same passion to make a difference, who recognizes the change that needs to take place and the acceptance of each other, our individual stories, no matter what our story is, and the beauty of understanding the true meaning of unconditional love.
Bonnie, we're running out of time. Can we get some questions maybe?
Sure. Yep, I was just finishing up.
Okay. Can we open up for questions from anybody?
I have a comment, not a question, but I thank you for bringing this subject to our meeting today. And it's not just family, but I mean, just being kind to a stranger, that's walking by, just smiling or saying hello can make a huge difference. So who knows where that person's mind is, right? So they may be going through an awful lot, and obviously we don't know what people are going through. Be married to them, right, and not know everything that they're going through. So, but just remember, in this cruel world that we live in, just be kind. Just be kind to one another, and so.
Yeah, I also know, I think someone else had a question, but I also know one of the things that encouraged me to invite Vonnie to come and do this was I read that, and I believe it was the CDC, but they are going back and taking a look at all the death certificates from overdoses, and they have already changed that to suicide from overdose death. And since then, I've read some other things online about like overdose deaths and how the number of overdose deaths and suicide have just plummeted. It's just crazy. And yeah, how many people take their lives? And don't know. We don't know if it's on purpose or not, like the overdose deaths and things, but they've reclassified a lot of them and a significant number of them as being suicide. So anyway.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that. That's we don't really know, but we do know that there are people struggling out there. And at the bottom line is people want their pain to end. I really believe people don't want their life to end. They want whatever situation or pain they're dealing with to end.
Yeah. Well, we also know that there have been different numbers, but it's been pretty consistent over the years of about 80% of people who are in active addiction also have a diagnosis of a mental health problem. And it could be a lot of things, but most of the time it's probably depression, anxiety, and that kind of stuff. But Vonnie, I thank you so very much for doing this today. and I really appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yeah, there's a couple questions real quick.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ginger.
Ginger, yeah, go.
I'm a volunteer for the sheriff's department where I go out on calls with them at times. And last night I was out on a call for a suicide. Um, and the wife of the victim, she kept saying to me, "Why would he do this to me?"
Mhm.
And I just wondered if you had any response for that.
Yeah. Are you a victim advocate?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I will be tomorrow actually at the sheriff's. I'm trying to think if it's the sheriff's department or the police department because we have grief kits that we provide to the Sheriff's Association, victim advocates. And when somebody said, "Why would they do this to me?" This is going to that third side, right? What was that person? What was the loved one really going through? What was the pain that he was living with? This isn't really about when my husband died, it wasn't about me. It was about him and what he was going with. And oftentimes so many feel like they're a burden to their family and their family would be better off without them. And for us, it's even hard to even say that that could be an act of love in a way. And I know it sounds strange, but our loved ones didn't want to burden us. Burden is the most commonly used words from suicide attempt survivors and to families that have told me that their loved one felt like they were a burden. So I hope that helps.
Mm-hmm. That's what I kept telling her, but she was in shock and she was numb and just had a lot going on at the moment. So,
Yeah. I mean, it will take her a few days. I mean, the shock is real.
mm-hmm.
Was there another question?
Yeah, Ian, did you have something? And then Sarah.
No, it's a comment really. It says I've also lost a loved one to suicide, and I just want to say I really appreciate you sharing your story, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I also just want to say I have a book, I Understand Pain, Love, and Healing After Suicide. Anybody that is on here today that would like a copy, please email Vonnie at iunderstandloveheals.org and I will send you a copy for free because I really feel like it can help.
I'm putting that in the chat, Bonnie.
Pardon me?
Do you mind putting that in the chat, your email?
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. Sarah, did you have a quick comment?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I just also wanted to say that I also lost my brother from suicide as well 3 years ago, and hearing you talk about how people would tell my mother that just get through the first year is the worst, is something that even like her counselor was saying to her. And I think that was something as me being the only person left with my mother, something that I was like holding on to as well as thinking that if we got through this first year, that things were gonna somehow, get better, but that's just not how it works.
It isn't. I mean, people say things that they don't know. They don't know. They're trying to say something comforter. They're trying to say something hopeful. But it's been 21 years for me and I still have triggers. I still cry. I still miss my husband. It doesn't ever go away. There's always going to be a hole in your heart. But what I hope you can do is do what I did. And whatever that is find a passion, find something that's going to help heal your heart. Because for me, by helping other people, bringing that understanding, it heals my heart every day, even all of these years later.
I was to say one of the things I try to do to kind of help my mom as well was, well, I also did it in honor of my brother, but also to break stigma about a suicide as we just hosted the second, well, we didn't just host it, it's in May, but I had the second run, it's called Nick's Run for Recovery in my brother's honor, and it's a 5K run that we do here in Marquette, Michigan in May, in my brother's memory. But I think with that, and then I also just had a baby this year. That's been some healing for my mom. But yeah, it's been a rough time. Not only do
Yeah.
I miss my brother, but I'm also, kind of grieving my mom too.
Yeah, because life definitely changes. But I have to say, up in Marquette, my parents were from the Upper Peninsula, and we love it up there. And I hope that you find find comfort, and each year gets a little bit easier. And you know what? Love heals. That little baby's going to bring a lot of healing to your family.
She does. Thank you for being here today, Vonnie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Vonnie, so much.
You're welcome. Thanks again. And just one last thing, I want you all to know that the world is a much better place with you in it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vonnie. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Wally.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for participating and asking questions to Bonnie and stuff. We all been touched in some way with loss. So I appreciated her talk today. I did want to talk about October. We didn't have a meeting. So October Catholic Social Services, the operator of the month for the month of October. Is there somebody on here from Catholic Social Services in the UP? Kate, you want to take a couple minutes and tell us about your program?
Sure. My name is Kate. I work for Catholic Social Services, and I'm the director for the Hosanna House, which is the Women's Recovery House in Escanaba, Michigan, up in the UP. My partner, Nate, was on this call, but I don't know if he dropped. I don't know if he's still on there or not. I can't see him. But anyway, yeah. I was a resident actually at the house that I am the director of now. So having it come full circle for me has really been able to allow me to foster an environment with empathy and compassion and understanding. And then just maintaining the houses up to MARR standards, fixing things, and just keeping safety in mind and stuff like that. I don't really know. Just very proud to, it was very nice to have you pop in and visit, Catherine. It was nice to meet you. So I don't know if Nate's on this call, if he has anything that he would like to add as far as for the men's houses. I don't know. He keeps losing Wi-Fi. But so I don't know if that's all you wanted me to say.
Yeah, just thank you. I was very impressed with your programs when I went up there. Very impressed with your homes. My husband and I went to the UP last month, actually September, and did pop-ins throughout the whole UP. We started in Wisconsin, went north, and worked our way all the way across to the bridge. So it was a pleasure seeing programs. So thank you for all you do. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And we're in November now. Great Lakes Recovery Centers is the operator of the month for November. And I was also impressed with their program as well when I was in the UP. Is there somebody from Great Lakes?
Yep.
Hello.
Sean Baker with Great Lakes Recovery Centers. Thank you, Catherine. It was very kind of you to nominate us. I've been with Great Lakes for 27 years. We've been operating Gary's house here in Sault Ste. Marie for roughly the last 4 years. We started in 2020. And I appreciate the nomination, and I appreciate your site visit, because what we determined in that site visit was that there were some things that had kind of come off the rails. And it was a great time for us to do a hard reset. And being more of an administrative role with Great Lakes, I don't often get to provide direct service. And so in that kind of hard reset, it gave me an opportunity to go down and meet all the guys that we have at Gary's house, work with each one of them on developing a better routine. And it was nice rolling up your sleeves and doing some scrubbing, right? I mean, there's some therapy there for sure to just get in the trenches. And I was cleaning shoe molding while the guys were scrubbing doors, and it was just a great experience to work together as a team to get a common goal accomplished. And so thank you for what you do, Catherine, and for the nomination. So
thank you. And it's no different than any other program. I mean, things happen. I mean, there should be daily contact, some kind of daily oversight to see, are they doing what they need to do? Are they getting to work? Are they just laying around? Are they doing their chores? Is there anything to maintain? And so, make sure you're looking at your homes to make sure that things are going the way you're expecting things to go. A lot of people have other people they have hired to oversee locations, but they need to be checked up on too sometimes, you know, just to make sure they're doing what they need to do. So, but thank you. You guys stepped it up and you took care of things. And so I appreciate that. And you guys have a great program. Great
Thank you.
program. November is National Native American Heritage Month. So it's not just about Thanksgiving. So just wanted to put that out there as well. If you are working with any population like that in your homes, bring awareness to them. That is also National Native American Heritage Month. So I wanted to reach out to Jeff. Jeff, we're tight in time. Do you have anything that you'd like to share?
This is all in the process of finalization, but it looks like Michigan is going to be able to provide RECCAP, the Recovery Capital Assessment Instrument, free of charge for another at least 12 to 18 months, courtesy of the wonderful ladies down at the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The platform will likely be changed from its current platform of One Step to a better, improved platform called Behave Health. And for those of you who run levels 3 and 4, the difference, significant difference is they're going to have automatic billing services built into their program. So to the extent you can bill successfully for peer recovery coaching services, that'll be part of a built-in function. The other thing that's going to be new on that function, and this will not happen until June of next year of 2025, so you guys are getting this information about 6 months early, but there's going to be a real-time bed registry, which is going to require input from our operators in terms of let us know when there's a vacancy. But it's going to allow a PHP, a doctor, a social worker, just a general member of the public to go on the registry and say, okay, I need to have a place in Boyne City, Michigan. I need to go look at whether Jason's got any vacancies up there for me. And it'll be able, assuming Jason works right, which he always does, there'll be real-time registries on there to say, hey, I got an opening, or no, I don't have an opening. So we're really excited about that. In terms of the funding, we're continuing to work on trying to get some additional monies from the opioid task force, the opioid litigation task force, for recovery supports offered through our recovery residences. So that's about all the news that I've got that's fit to print. I should say I enjoyed coming up to Charlevoix last week and got a chance to speak at a fundraiser for the Joppa House. So had a wonderful time. Thank you, Ginger, and Ginger's daughter for hosting us, and enjoy the dinner. And that's it.
Ellie Darren, do you have anything, any updates you need to make?
Hi, everyone. I just kind of covered what's coming up with RECCAP. Something to kind of add as well is it's not just going to be billing for the peer support. So I know that level 4s with the treatment centers also bill Medicare, Medicaid. You'll also be able to bill through that system for that. It's really something to look forward to in that there are some functions within the system that are new, and some of the things that have been asked for by operators currently using the system, such as notifications, being able to send messages to others through the system. So super exciting, really good thing to Alex. What right now there are what's the contractor that's with not with One Step But Behave, correct? So if any of you are currently using that system, we'll be able to transition over to that. So this platform is going to be much more functional and reduce a lot of double work that you guys I know has been an area of concern as well. So aside from that, we're just going to keep on moving, completing evaluations, getting things done, and when we come time to transition over to that new platform, we'll get all together and let you know what we need to do and what to expect. So keep your eye on and just make sure you're joining our community of practices. It's the fourth Wednesday. We'll keep you updated for everything that we have and information as we move forward. So
when it gets closer, maybe in April or May of this coming year, my plan is to invite the president of the platform Behave Health to actually go through, here's a half hour that shows you from an operator's point of view, the things that will be available to you. For instance, there's something that is an app where, let's say you've got a 6-man house and 3 of them are supposed to go to an NA meeting and 3 are supposed to go to an AA meeting. Actually, this app allows you, and it's all set up through global positioning services, satellites, so that actually tracks it, and the individual you'll be able as an operator to see whether your resident is actually at that physical location, when he got there, and how long he's been there. So it provides some tracking information, and that's just one example of the things that are available. But this platform was developed with recovery residence operators in mind. So it's not going to just host the RECCAP assessment instrument. It's also going to host various tools for operators. And the charge for those additional tools will be $0 per month.
Awesome. Wally, anything you want to add? Anything going on your end?
Nope, I have nothing more to add. I've done my duty for today.
Oh, okay, great. Kayla.
I do have quite a few things, so I'm going to try to keep it short since we're short on time. So if anyone has questions on any of these things, feel free to reach out to me afterwards since we probably won't have time. I did want to remind everybody about our $500 increase on, and that's coming up in 2025. It should not be new news to anybody, but I know there's still going to be people that they're going to say that it's brand new. But we are raising our rates to $500 starting January 1st, 2025. So for every single residence, every single operator and every single resident is going to be $500 per residence. We're still going to keep the additional beds at $20 per bed over 16. But the amount per residence will be $500 per residence starting January 1st, 2025. So I did send out a couple of emails to people, the people that are due in December and those of you that are due in January. You probably saw the email already, but I wanted to reiterate it anyway. We want to try to get away from any overlap as much as possible. So December people, please try not to pay late. If you pay any time in January, then the rate is going to be increased and we're going to have to deal with refunds. Same thing with people in January. If you pay in December, then we're going to require additional payments. So I was asking people in December to please pay in December and people in January to please pay in January. Of course, there's going to be a slip here and there, but we're going to try to minimize the overlap as much as possible with that transition. One more thing, or one or two more things. Let's see. Recovery residences need to be up and running for 30 days with residents whenever you are opening a home. So we've had a lot of you open homes this year. That's really, really great to see. But it's always a shock to people when we can't add them to your certification letter right away. We need your new home to be up and running with residents for 30 days before we're able to add it to your certification letter. So it's awesome that you're opening homes. I know that can be tricky with funding sometimes for some people. Always reach out to us to see if maybe there's anything we can do, but that is our rule. 30 days up and running with residents, along with our new applicants as well. So anybody that you know that's going to be applying, they need to be up and running for 30 days with residents before we will accept their application and go and do their site visit. So there's that. And then I also wanted to bring up, because we've had this situation come up a couple of times already. When you're adding new residences, a couple of our operators we have found are taking over old programs, which is awesome. If one program can't seem to make it or they want to close down, it's great for one of our current operators to take over that address if they can. That's great to see, but we also need to know about it. It'd be great for our lists to be as up to date as possible. The people that are no longer certified or people that were that lapsed in their certification, we still keep that list to be able to reach out to them and things like that. And it'll be nice to be able to cross them off the list if they're being taken under a new operator's supervision. So that's I think that's it. And then I also wanted to bring up the levels to letters real quick. Catherine, in case you wanted to say anything about that. But I did want to just note that we're going to start trying to do a light transition from level 1, 2, 3, and 4 residences to letters, as in like level 1 being P for peer, level 2 being M for managed, level 3 being S for supervised, and level 4 being T for treatment.
And this is something that, this is something that MARR has put in place. They've been kind of wanting to get away from the 1, 2, 3, 4. But we added it to the MARR site. We just put, next to 1 is P, for peer. But so you're going to see that, but that's why the National Alliance wanted to kind of get away from that. So it doesn't, you're not doing anything different. You're still, but they just wanted to go with the letters and the words versus having it 1, 2, 3, 4. So so there's no change on your end.
Yeah, so that'll just be a slow transition. If you end up seeing a letter instead of a number on Start of Me, just know that your level is still the same. We're just changing it from a number into a letter.
We got a couple minutes. I wanted to there's been a few operators that have been coming on board that they've got recovery residence beds in a building where there's like maybe other things going on. There's a lot of places where there's empty buildings. So there's like a homeless shelter maybe on one floor, and then the recovery residence is like on another floor. And so is it ideal? No. Can it be certified? Yes, as long as there's no common living areas. So we cannot expose our recovery residents, individuals, to people that are not in recovery. So if you have like a homeless shelter on the main floor where they're going to be, mingling with people under the influence as they're trying to get upstairs, that's not okay. So for those that are looking to expand, if you're coming into a situation like that where maybe there's a different population other than the recovery residents, please know that there can be no mingling, no common living areas, like can't share the same kitchen, can't share the same dining room or anything. It's got to be very separate. So if you're looking to grow, please make sure that you're aware of that. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we've talked about today?
If you do, definitely feel free to email either of us or Jeff at any time. We can definitely continue asking questions and anything like that.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for attending today and missed you guys last month. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we all do really have a lot to be thankful for. So hopefully you're doing something with your residents. For those that don't have families, that is their family in your home. So hopefully you've got something planned for everybody. So take care, everybody.
Thank you. Kim, also really quick, I saw your comment. I'll email you if you're still on here.